Good morning. The December 19th, 2023 meeting of the Charter Authorizing Panel is called to order. We're getting a little bit of feedback. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Department of Education and ask that you silence all your electronic devices. And I guess I need to silence mine. The goal is to facilitate a fair and responsible hearing, so therefore I ask that each person speaking please state your name and title for the record. I ask that you continue to speak clearly into the microphone throughout your presentation for the benefit of the panel, this audience, and the viewing audience. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and a transcript of this meeting will be posted on the DESE website. All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Department of Education. We have a consent agenda item before us today, which is our minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I so move. Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Okay, Ms. Summons. Good morning.
Good morning. Dory Summons, Office of Public Charter Schools. Warren Middle School rescinded the charter in September of 2023, and all associated waivers were rescinded at that time.
Do I have a motion to accept the rescission?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have to fill out our voting sheets on
Okay.
this. Just 1 minute and we'll be back.
Is this a four? Yes, right.
right, we'll start with Mr. Baldwin.
Yes, I voted in favor of the motion to rescind the Warren Middle School charter.
Dr. Wright McMurray.
Voted for. I support Warren Middle School's request to rescind their waiver designation and all associated waivers.
Ms. Saraceni.
Support motion to rescind waivers associated with charter.
Dr. Moore.
I support Warren Middle School's request to rescind their charter designation and all associated waivers.
Ms. Newton.
And I also voted for their request to rescind their charter.
Okay. And Mr. Davis. I think Mr. Davis may have some trouble getting on, but he did state that he supports the request. I'm not sure if he can get off mute or not. I can't see the Zoom, but we will move on to our next agenda item. And Ms. Summons?
The next item is the proposed calendar dates for the charter panel meetings for the year of 2024. This was based off of the calendar that was submitted, that state board approved for state board meetings. So that calendar, our calendar is based off of what they have approved.
So this would be the Tuesday after
The Tuesday after state board.
I make a motion to approve the panel meeting dates.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second from Mr. Baldwin. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, so Mr. Reynolds, would you like to come forward for the proceedings?
Good morning. Stephen Reynolds, staff attorney for the department. I'll just go over the procedures real quick. Anyone who plans to provide testimony during the hearing must be sworn in by the chair. The applicant shall have 20 minutes to present its case to the panel. The chair may grant additional time. Parties speaking in opposition to the applicant, if any, shall have 20 minutes to present their case to the panel. The chair may grant additional time. To my knowledge, we've received no opposition to any of the matters before you today. The panel may issue a final decision at the hearing or take the matter under advisement until a future scheduled meeting. The panel may defer its vote to approve or disapprove a charter application, renewal, or amendment in order to allow a charter school or applicant to make modifications or receive technical assistance to correct deficiencies in the application or request. And I'm gonna turn it over to Dory for the presentation and the charter school for their presentation. I'll be back for the really fun part.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Mountainburg Public School District has submitted an application to convert Mountainburg High School. The school will serve grades 9 through 12 with a career and technical focus. The applicant was asked to come back and provide additional information, and they are here this morning.
All right, thank you very much. Will all those who plan to speak on behalf of the charter please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony or statement you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, you may begin.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Courtney Christie, high school principal. Thank you for giving us some time to really dig into our plan and make some corrections and get more information. Today, I have with me my superintendent, Dr. Debbie Atwell, my assistant principal, Ms. Sarah Walker. I have the director of workforce development for our area, Mr. Dennis Williamson, and I have our mayor, Ms. Susan Wilson. So thank you all for being here. Senator Petty may join us later, but you know how busy he is. So during our time, the last 3 weeks, we've really started to look more at the technical terms that were used and make some updates. So today, we are going to look at a day in the life of a student. We're going to look at curriculum for courses, That was a lot of the question. We were talking about a level 2, calling it a career practicum, which was already used in the work-based learning manual, and so we have changed some of that language. We are going to look more in depth at the work-based learning and how that would be managed. Our student-employer engagement, there were questions about contracts and how we're going to ensure that a student is being taken care of when they are at a place of business and vice versa. And then we also had questions about transportation. So we'll begin with looking at a day in the life of a student for the expanded offerings. Now, previously I referred to these as level 2 practicums, and so I had presented that students would take a level 1 CTE course on site with one of our on-site teachers, and then the level 2 course would be more student-paced, working with a business partner. There was confusion because I called it a career practicum, and so we've cleaned up the language. It will not be called a career practicum. It will be the name of that level 2 course. So if you look at this example student schedule, we are still ensuring that students are getting their English, their math, their history, electives that they may need. And so an example course, 8th period, is agribusiness management. We currently do not offer agribusiness management. I don't have the faculty to be able to teach that course in isolation. So what we are proposing is that we could expand to this offering with some self-paced student work. Virtual Arkansas, we already partner with them for our concurrent courses, but they also offer CTE courses. Some of those, they just have the curriculum that teachers can use to meet student needs. There are also some courses that they do not offer, and so we are creating career cards for those level 2 courses using the CTE-based standards that have been put out by the CTE department. So that way we can ensure students are still getting that high level of learning. So students would, if they're taking a level 2 course that we don't offer full-time, they would follow, I gotta see if this thing goes backwards. It does. Okay, so they would follow this schedule. During their agribusiness management class, they would be with their level 1 CTE teacher. So let's say it's survey of ag. So they would go to their survey of ag class during agribusiness management. What would they be doing? It's going to be self-paced. We will use our platform, Google Classroom, to be able to manage that work. And so that way students have a place to archive their artifacts as well. They'll also have access to a business partner in that career field so that they're working closely with them on the specifics of that class. And then they will also work with our work-based learning coordinator. After the level 2 course, we of course want them to be able to continue for completer status. They can go into a career practicum if we don't offer a level 3 course. If we're not offering a level 2 course, more than likely we're not offering a level 3. There are a few anomalies where maybe you have mechanics or metals that fall into that agri field. But if you're looking at one of the survey of business courses and following that pathway, we probably don't offer a level 3. We still want them to be able to get that experience and to be a completer. And so we would go into the career practicum. We could use a pre-apprenticeship to where they could apply to use that as a completer course or another course if it's available. Then we also talked to you last month about a flexible schedule. And so we were really encouraged to use the the work-based learning manual and to learn that. And as I was going through that, I found an idea with the pre-apprenticeship to where we could expand, but we're limited with how that would work. And so I wanted to use the language here. And so the pre-apprenticeship, as it's currently written, students do 90 hours of classroom work before they really get into the business. And what we're finding with students is they're not getting that tangible hands-on, how does this apply? It's a lot of virtual work, and they're not seeing it's the classroom, the front side. And we want to bring that into them to where we're intertwining getting them into the business. And so they're making those connections earlier instead of getting all the classroom work done and then going into the apprenticeship side where they're in the business. And so this is where the flexible schedule option is going to come into play. So you can see here again, a student has all the courses that would be required. And then we have a class period built in for pre-apprenticeship. And so if you go to the next slide, here's how that would look. The first semester, the student could complete the 60 hours of registered apprenticeship standard training. We would partner with the NAFT in order to get that training. And so then the second semester, where they start the next 30 hours of the pre-apprenticeship program, we also want to include on-the-job training there. This is where a student would need a flexible schedule because they may not be on site every day. So these courses that are listed here could be virtual courses to where they're still working, but they have the opportunity to be out and about instead of sitting in a traditional classroom all day long. There's flexibility in their schedule while they're still maintaining what they need to do. So that would be their junior year. Their third and fourth semester, we would like to also expand that. So right now the pre-apprenticeship program is just 90 hours. They could complete that 90 hours their junior year, but then what happens their senior year? Do they just go back to doing nothing? And so no, we are working with workforce development to keep moving them forward in that apprenticeship program to meet the hours. We've modeled the work-based learning language to where they would have a minimum of 120 hours of on-the-job training per semester. They would work on a portfolio and or an additional 30 hours of intensive registered apprenticeship standard training. Flexible schedule students could use Google Classroom or virtual Arkansas courses to ensure learning of core courses. What we're finding is a lot of our seniors right now, they are completing all their requirements to where they don't need a full schedule their senior year. We can continue some more learning for them though in a specific career path that would benefit them after they graduate, while also working towards industry certifications and career and technical certificates. Work-based learning, how is this managed? Previously, we talked about a team of people. It will still be ran by a team of people, but I think one of the concerns was that you didn't have one person who could really track the students and know them. So we will have a work-based learning coordinator. She's actually already employed with our district. She has the 412 endorsement. Our first year, we would cap our work-based learning at 25 students. One of the requirements is that there is a planning period for 1 to 25 students. If you look at my graduating class, I only have 39 students. So if I had 25 in a work-based learning, that would be a large group. So it's not going to apply to all of our students, but there is opportunity there for all of our students. Responsibilities of the work-based learning coordinator. They would support the level 2 course students who are virtual learning. And so if you remember back a few slides ago, they would help monitor that student's progress in those courses. So it's not just left to the CTE teacher who's also teaching another course. They're gonna have somebody who they can check in with more frequently. We'll partner with Mr. Dennis Williamson to establish local businesses and partnerships. We currently have commitments from the National Apprenticeship Training Foundation, Arkansas Construction Education Foundation, Carpenters Local, Arkansas General Contractors and companies they represent. And since I've created these slides, I attended a workforce development meeting, and I have commitments from Beckert and local banks as well. And so those partnerships are continuing to grow, and we look forward to building that out in the planning phase. Our work-based learning coordinator will also work with employers to develop our pre-apprenticeship experience. We'll conduct visits to placements and complete the necessary forms. We'll create side agreements, maintain proof of work and work hours for students, and utilize the Arkansas Seamless platform. I have the work-based learning contract and site contract modeled off of CTE. That will be what we use in order to build this out. We will work on the student-employer engagement so that there is a contract available for students and employers. It will be created with the employer, the student, the work-based learning coordinator, administration, CTE teacher if needed, and any other stakeholders. It'll include learner responsibilities, employer responsibilities, the school responsibilities, a training plan. What's it look like for the student? And then other information is needed, plus signatures of all stakeholders. We cannot forget the parents. They will be a huge part in this. And so there will be a lot of understanding. But before we enroll a student in the course, they need to know what their responsibilities are. The business needs to know their responsibilities. And so as we're creating those career cards and those contracts and looking at the assignments, we want to have all that very clear. Our work-based learning coordinator will monitor the student progress and activities. They'll provide support for virtual students. I do want to clarify the provide support. They may not be the ones creating the curriculum. We will use either ICEV, Virtual Arkansas, or something of those means for the curriculum. They're there to support, to say you have due dates coming up. Make sure you're paying attention to those. Do you understand what it means by investigate this? And so they have somebody there who's keeping track of them. The CTE teacher will co-create the curriculum and assess student understanding if they are not using Virtual Arkansas. Virtual Arkansas, it's laid out very clear. ICEV has a lot of support as well, and so we'll be able to use both of those. Transportation. Mountainburg is very rural, and so we do have to travel. Students requiring daily transportation, so let's say they are in that pre-apprenticeship program, they're going out every day. They're going to need to understand that they may need to provide their own transportation. It may not be feasible for the school to be able to provide that. But during the planning phase, we're going to work with our business partners to also provide transportation. If we have a student who is showing that they can go further into this career, and we have a business who is really interested in them, working with Dennis, we believe that we can get some of the businesses to also help with that transportation. So for example, this would apply to our 3rd and 4th semester pre-apprenticeship students. For students who are going out for the periodic observations, they're not going every day, they're going once every month or every couple of weeks, it's not every day, then MHS will provide that student transportation. That schedule will be created at the beginning of the year, so it's coordinated with our transportation department, our businesses, our parents, and whoever else is involved. So that way there are no surprises coming up. We have that planned out well in advance. And I hope that answers all of your questions today, but I'm ready for more. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Dr. Wright McMurray, do you have any questions?
Not really questions, but comments.
Okay.
So I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to go back and put in this amount of work. I know that you have worked closely with your CTE coordinator, Ms. Turner, and so hopefully you found this process to be helpful to kind of flesh out some more details. But I am highly impressed with what you guys have come back with, and thankful that you dug into the work-based learning manuals and kind of changed some terms around. So I think you'll find that to be helpful to you, especially using the seamless system, because that data will also be helpful for you to be able to track your students and their outcomes. And so if we're using the correct terms and similar terms, you won't have issues going forward. So thank you to you and your team, and I'm glad to see that you brought Mr. Williamson with you. I know he's going to be a great partner with you in your area.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Ms. Saraceni?
I don't really have anything but a comment. Thank you for coming today. It really gave us a glimpse into what a day in the life of a student at Mountainburg really is. I just, as I'm looking, I still kind of look at that letter grade, and I just kind of have a pause because it's a D, but it sounds like y'all are trying to work on that.
The high school is not a D.
It's not.
The high school is a C. Our middle school just dropped to a D. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Maybe you know something I don't.
I'm glad you corrected me, because that's what I was looking at.
Thank you.
The data that we got, so that makes me feel a lot better, because I commend you for what you're putting in place to meet the needs of students, because it is changing, and we learned that with COVID.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Baldwin?
So I will add to the compliments of my colleagues and say thank you for doing a really really good job of looking at your structure and program and considering the questions that we had last time. You were very organized and orderly in your thought process, and I was just sitting here clicking off all the things I had on my sheet as you went along. The only question I have, and it's really just a curiosity question, you talk about that your cap will be 25 students in the first year. How big do you think this could be over a long period of time?
To answer your question, I think part of that's going to depend on enrollment, and it's going to depend on student need. And so right now I have small classes, and so sometimes I'll have seniors who need to take every course. At this point, I don't know, but I want to grow it as big as it can be to meet the needs of our
And
students.
you said that 25 is actually a large number of.
That's a large percentage.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'm very pleased with what you've presented.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Newton?
I too am pleased with the report and the explanations you've given. I'm wondering, and this is just maybe an ancillary question, maybe, about broadband access and the number of students that will be virtual, and whether or not access is something that is not an issue, as opposed to, on a given day, something's not working. Does the onus fall on the family to provide the access if they're going to do virtual, or is that something that the school supports?
So we have not necessarily explored the school supporting the virtual access. Right now it would be up to the families. One of the things that we covered last month is we're losing a large number of our students to go to virtual. And so students who want a virtual option are finding a means to be able to have internet and broadband access. I do want to commend our community, and Mayor Wilson may be able to speak more to that, but we are expanding broadband connection in our area. Wave Rural, I don't know if you're familiar, through Arkansas Valley Electric. They're expanding to rural areas, and so right now they're covering at least 50% of our community, and they've just opened a new phase that will cover another large portion of our community. And so we do have some offerings there. And so to go back to your question, we haven't necessarily explored providing it for the students, but it could be something that could be a discussion for our district.
The obstacles that might arise in that area is something that concerns me, is that as far as having access, but because we know that the students aren't the ones that make the determination often.
Right.
So that is my question.
Thank you.
Dr. Moore?
I really don't have anything to add beyond the comments that have already been made. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know that it was frustrating not to get an approval the last time you were here, but I hope that you found that it was the work that you would have been doing, even if you had got approved last
Absolutely.
time. And it's all the things you would have been doing, and it just gives us a little more peace of mind in seeing that it's going the right direction. So thank you so much. It was very clear, and we could see what that day in the life of a student looked like. And I do just encourage to continue to push the academic rigor, even for the students who are doing the work-based learning, because we never want it to be any type of a less than pathway for students. And
Absolutely.
The academic preparation.
Yes,
So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, I was very impressed with your presentation and seeing how you went through the process. So thank you so much for doing that and then coming back.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Is there any other discussion? If not, let's let Stephen go. I forgot about your part. The fun part.
The fun part. All right, just to go back over the legal review from last time, I'm just going to go into order.
And I think we can go with just the topics on this. Yeah.
Yep, so waiver topic number 1 is the salaries and compensation. We didn't have any legal concerns with that. Waiver topic number 2 is teacher licensure. We didn't have any legal concerns with that. Just keep in mind that only Section 7 of the DESE rules governing educator licensure can be waived. Waiver topic number 3 is professional development. We didn't have any legal concerns with that. Waiver topic number 4 is instructional day. No legal concerns with that. Waiver topic number 5 and 6 are personnel policies. Had no legal concerns with that. And then I spoke with the school district. They alerted me that we were supposed to add a waiver last time. I don't remember if we did that or not, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. It's a class size and teaching load waiver, which would include Arkansas Code annotated 617.812, standard for accreditation 1A5 and 1A6, and the rules governing class size and teaching load. And I just want to get the charter to confirm that on the record that they're requesting that additional waiver.
Okay.
And then I'm done.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, we are requesting the addition of those waivers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I just had,
Yes.
okay. And I know we had a discussion last time, I just wanted to reaffirm that, when it comes to our CTE teachers, that our intent is to get certified teachers that are in their area, and if not, to do our best efforts to use the technical, permitting process.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval of the application.
All right, we have
I second.
so we have a motion by Dr. Wright McMurray and a second by Ms. Saraceni. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Give us just a minute to fill out our voting sheets. All right, we'll start with Mr. Baldwin.
Yes, thank you. I voted in favor of the Mountainburg High School charter request. The program design is innovative and responsive to the needs of the rural community.
All right, Dr. Wright McMurray.
I voted for. I support Mountainburg High School's charter request. The administration has a well-thought-out plan to create a learning model that includes CTE courses supported by meaningful work experiences. I look forward to their outcomes as their structure may serve as a model for similar schools.
Ms. Newton.
I voted for approval, explanation being all previous issues are addressed and corrected.
Ms. Saraceni.
I support the motion to approve the district conversion charter for Mountainburg High School. Looking forward to seeing the impact on career readiness to meet all the needs of students.
Dr. Moore.
I support Mountainburg High School's charter request and affiliated waivers. Expanding the career and technical learning opportunities for students and allowing a flexible schedule will be an advantage for their students, and it is especially needed in this rural area. The partnerships with local business and industry and their workforce board will be critical.
Mr. Davis.
Yes, I support the Mountainburg School District charter request. I support expanding this option to students and families in the region.
All right, thank you very much. All right, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right, Ms. Summons.
Haas Hall Academy at the Lane has submitted an amendment request to relocate the existing campus at 121 West Poplar Street to Peaks Development at 2807 Ajax Avenue. We have Dr. Schottmeyer on the Zoom.
Okay. Can we get the Zoom on the main screen? There we go. All right. Dr. Schottmeyer, if you'll stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Is there anyone else who's going to be speaking on behalf of the charter? Okay. All right. You may begin.
I don't have a presentation today, but I do have some recent accolades that I think I'd like to share with the committee, if that's all right. Hostel Academy has been awarded a reward school for the 9th consecutive year, top 5% in performance and top 5% in growth. We're a success school. All 4 of our campuses received a letter graded A on their report card. For 12 consecutive years, Hostel Academy has been recognized by U.S. News and World Report as the #1 public high school in the state. Due to our challenging academic curriculum, Hostel Academy is recognized as one of the most challenging schools in the nation for 12 consecutive years. Hostel Academy is ranked the #1 school district in the state of Arkansas. Our Bentonville, Fayetteville, Rogers, and Springdale campuses received accolades from AP as a 2023 Honor Roll Platinum, the only schools in the state of Arkansas to receive this distinction. That's all I have.
Thank you very
I'm open
much.
for questions.
So do we have any questions? Dr. Moore, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay. Ms. Newton? Mr. Baldwin?
No.
Okay. Ms. Saraceni? Dr. Wright McMurray?
No questions.
Okay. Any discussion? Oh, Mr. Davis. I apologize.
No questions. That's okay. No questions.
All right. Any discussion? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move we approve the request as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. I have a motion by Mr. Baldwin and a second by Dr. Wright McMurray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion passes. Thank you very much. Let
Thank
us
you very much.
fill out our voting sheet real quick. right, we'll start with Mr. Davis.
Yes. I support Haas Hall's charter request to relocate one campus in order to better align with student population and offerings for students.
All right, Dr. Moore.
I vote to approve Haas Hall Academy's amendment request to relocate.
Ms. Saraceni.
I support the request to relocate the existing campus of Haas Hall Academy.
Ms. Newton.
I support the request. I need to reword that. Based on the fact that they have justified the relocation and any questions surrounding it.
Dr. Wright McMurray.
I support Haas Hall's Academy amendment request to relocate campuses.
And then Mr. Bolton.
I voted in favor of the motion and support the relocation of the Rogers campus and believe that such relocation will benefit student recruitment and retention.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Summons?
Okay. Academies of West Memphis District Conversion Renewal Application. The district is requesting a renewal for 5 years. The campus serves grades 10 through 12. The current enrollment cap is 1,300 students. The charter will follow the traditional education model, and we do have representatives from West Memphis here this morning.
All right, thank you. Will all those who plan on speaking on behalf of the charter please stand? Raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you very much. You may begin.
Testing, testing.
Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties.
It's odd because Mr. Davis can hear us, I suppose, because he was responding.
Sophie?
She said yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, you may begin. Sorry about that.
Okay, good morning. How everybody doing this morning?
Doing well. Doing well.
Good morning. I'm Terrence Brown, and I am the superintendent of the West Memphis School District. In the West Memphis School District, our goal is to prepare 100% of our graduates for their futures beyond graduation. We are making strides toward academic and economic enrichment for our students and community. We are providing our children with advantages in an environment where socioeconomic disadvantages often prevail. We're giving them a chance to succeed beyond just a high school diploma. The West Memphis School District has experienced change since the last time we stood before this panel. With these changes have come the benefit of new perspectives and ideas for the continued development of our school. One thing that has not changed is our belief in the potential to provide life-changing opportunities to our students through college, career, and technical education. We look forward to expanding our programs and certification offerings through both the ASU Mid-South campus and the Academies of West Memphis campus. We hope that you share our vision and grant us a renewal to continue this great work in the Delta region of Arkansas. And I'd like to present our superintendent, I may be speaking something to his distance, our principal, Mr. Jimmy Sloan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Jimmy Sloan Jr. I am the principal of the Academies of West Memphis. And with us today we have Katie Hutton, she's one of our business teachers. Tracy Panicola is our math coach. Tamika Burnett is our sophomore counselor. Susan Wagner is our assistant principal. And Senator Reginald Murdoch is here in support of our efforts as well. I would like to say also thank you to the panel for this opportunity to make the case to have our charter status extended for the next 5 years at the Academies of West Memphis. This is the mission statement for the Academies of West Memphis. Everything we have done, are doing, and will do as we move forward has its point of origin in this mission statement. We aim to prepare our students to be successful anywhere in the world with the hope that many will keep their skills and talents in West Memphis as we build a brighter future together. We are a public school, and our job is to prepare every student that comes into our doors. This map shows the percentage of students below the age of 18 living in poverty in the state of Arkansas. West Memphis is in the heart of the highest percentage of students living in poverty in the entire state. Some of our students come to us in the midst of generational poverty. This level of poverty creates disadvantages for our students, including high mobility, homelessness, and low engagement. Because of this poverty, a large percentage of our high school students work to help support themselves and their family, which create a false sense of economic stability, causing them to devalue continuing their education. Some of our students come to us attempting to be the first in their family to ever graduate high school. Yet others come trying to be the first in their families to ever graduate from college. Some of our students, as well as their parents, often come to us with very low expectations for their own futures. A little over a week ago, sophomore counselor Tamika Burnett and myself were having a counseling session with a student. And when I got to the part of that session where I so often asked, what do you plan to be doing at the age of 30? The young man's response was at the age of 15 that he had no expectation to live to see the age of 30. For years, the plan to address these issues has been to get everyone college educated. High school was set up with the idea in mind of getting everyone off to college. Educators believed that this was the route out of poverty for all those who were enduring poverty. But the data points out that only 24% of the population of the state of Arkansas has a bachelor's degree or higher. That same data shows that only 14% of the population of West Memphis has a bachelor's degree or higher. That leaves 86% of the population of West Memphis needing another pathway out of poverty. We are of the mindset that 100% of our students should leave the high school with a pathway that leads them out of poverty and into being a productive member of society, whether they plan to attain a 2 or 4 year college degree, attend a technical college, attain CTE certification, or enter the workforce directly out of high school. So we have provided dual tracks for our students to travel. Some choose to travel the college route, and some choose to travel the technical route, and we do have those who choose to travel both. The results of this dual track mindset and system has increased our graduation rate to be competitive with some of the best in the state. We have put into place a system that prepares college-bound students in such a way they graduate from the Academies of West Memphis knowing that they can be successful in any college in the country. We also have established and continue to build on network innovations that will connect us and our students to the best opportunities the world has to offer. We are producing a prepared workforce for West Memphis and the world. This will give our city the tools it needs to attract businesses that will provide for better economic development opportunities as we move forward. This is a snapshot of the dual track system that we have at the Academies of West Memphis. Our college and career track is at the top in blue. Our traditional delivery is at the bottom in red. The next several slides will be a more thorough breakdown of each of these pathways. We provide the following programs, events, and activities to support our students and prepare them to be successful for a successful college experience, ending with a college degree. Some of the things we do include, but are not limited to, we provide transportation to over 400 students every day to and from ASU Mid-South for college courses and CTE courses. We provide college visits and tours throughout the state. So far this year, we've taken our students to the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. We've taken bus loads of students to the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville, Arkansas State University, as well as Henderson State University, with plans to take them to even more campuses as we move forward into the school year. Our plan is to expose our students to as many college opportunities as we possibly can. When we're not in the business of taking our kids to colleges, we go about the business of bringing colleges to our kids in the form of career fairs and college fairs. The college fair that we host on our campus, we brought over 30 universities and colleges to our campus to have our students exposed to what the college experience would be like. We have a number of our students who, because they showed up with their credentials in their hands, were given scholarship offers and offers for financial aid at the college fair at our campus. We also took several bus loads of our students to the Shelby County Schools College Fair, which housed over 60 universities and colleges throughout the state of Tennessee, Arkansas, and Mississippi. We also provide weekend workshops for our college-bound students before every ACT to help prepare them for the ACT that they're about to encounter. We have an ACT Summer Boot Camp. It's a 2-week intensive program taught by content experts for students taking the June ACT. We have 4 career coaches that we house at the Academies of West Memphis to assist our college-bound students with scholarship preparation. They also assist them with financial aid and FAFSA, and they assist with the filling out of college applications to make sure that none of those are a hindrance to our students who desire the college experience. These are the course opportunities currently provided by our partners at ASU Mid-South. When we renewed our charter in 2018, ASU Mid-South had 14 pathways that our students could choose at that time. COVID caused a major drop in college enrollment that forced ASU Mid-South to drop several other programs in order that they might cut costs. We are in the planning stages of building our own CTE facility so that we can house our programs on our campus and provide some of those pathways that were lost at ASU Mid-South, as well as create new ones to make available to our students. We want to give our students access to as many industry-recognized certifications as we possibly can. Over the last 5 years, students from the Academies of West Memphis have received 14,150 credit hours at ASU Mid-South. That amounts to $1.2 million in tuition saved at the rate of $92 per credit hour, which is the current rate at ASU Mid-South. With the average cost of $394 per credit hour for the colleges in the state of Arkansas, that raises the savings amount for the families of students of the Academies of West Memphis to $5,577,464 over the past 5 years. As the college started removing programs, the students started losing opportunities to obtain those certifications that we value so much. Even with the loss of programs, we have had over 400 industry certifications earned by Academy of West Memphis students over the past 5 years. Dr. West, the president of ASU Mid-South, was not able to be here today, but she did want to send words of support in the form of a letter, and it reads as follows. I'm writing to you in enthusiastic support of the Academies of West Memphis, which was the first conversion charter school in the state to marry a high school and a community college. Over the past 5 academic years, students in the West Memphis School District have graduated with their high school diplomas as well as with more than 14,000 hours of college credit and more than 400 post-secondary credentials. These are credentials that they can either put to work immediately or use as the foundation for additional education and training after high school. Many of these students will likely never have sought post-secondary education and training on their own due to the time constraints and cost commitments, but the conversion charter provides them the opportunity to get a jump start on their future at a time and cost saving to their families. Students are gaining the career and technical skills they need to secure gainful employment locally. However, those skills are also practical and transferable no matter where their futures take them. For all these reasons and more, we at ASU Mid-South value the relationship we have with the Academies of West Memphis and are so proud that the conversion charter model pioneered here in Crittenden County has become the model for other similar programs throughout the state. We are especially grateful that our partnership is creating such a positive difference in our school, in our community, and for our students. One of the students earning a certificate was a student named Greg Mosley. He started in this pathway while he was a student at the Academies of West Memphis. He continued his chosen path as a diesel tech, and Greg is now an instructor at ASU Mid-South, the very school that he started his journey on. Another student who has taken advantage of the opportunities at the Academies of West Memphis through the criminal justice pathway was a student by the name of Haley. On December 8, 2023, through the Arkansas Department of Corrections, she graduated. And she wrote a letter to Mr. Brown, our criminal justice instructor, saying, "With the assistance of Mr. Brown, I've gained valuable and unforgettable skills and knowledge that has guided me through my journey. Haley tells us that she will now be living her dream job for the remainder of her life. It is also important to note that Haley was one of our IEP students. Just last week, we watched 3 of our former graduates receive their nursing pins, having completed the programs they began while they were students at the Academies of West Memphis, and each of them are now registered nurses. These are the current courses offered at the Academies of West Memphis campus. Our CTE courses lead to skill development, increased knowledge, and workplace preparation. We offer 3 programs of study through our business department, 2 programs of study through our family and consumer science, 2 programs of study through trade and industry, and 1 program of study through computer science. All of our programs of study lead to certification. Our students are able to earn their 75 hours of community service through our career and technical student organizations. Our goal is to put into place several additional programs that will spark student interest and provide industry-recognized certification when successfully completed. One of our most successful courses is our personal finance. Dr. Cheryl Ring program ranked 6th in the nation in the year 2021, and then first in the nation for back-to-back years in 2022 and 2023. Dr. Ring is currently reigning as the National Teacher of the Year for WISE Personal Finance for the year of 2023. As we expand our CTE programs at the AWM campus, we will be able to offer these pathways that were once offered at ASU Mid-South without the restraint of ACT requirement or minimum GPAs. This will make these pathways available to so many more of our students without those obstacles that they sometimes face when transitioning to the college. So we fully expect this number to be much higher at the conclusion of the next 5 years. These next several slides present our achievement data. Our ESSA grade is a D. We were only a couple of points away from a C, but we do not run from nor deny our letter grade. But we also do not let our letter grade dictate what we can do as a campus. Moving our school up from this D is at the forefront of everything we do at the Academies of West Memphis. We know that we have to get every stakeholder on board with a solid plan and a willingness to work if we're going to improve our letter grade. Our parents have to know and believe in the plan that we devise. Our students have to know the plan and believe in it. Our staff, our school board, and superintendent have to know and believe in the plan that we devise to move our students forward. We all have to be willing to do our part to execute the plan. Our community will play a vital role in moving our campus forward. To this end, we have recently held 5 community events to share our vision for our school with our community, as well as to gain feedback from our community. Our graduation rate is strong, but it can be stronger. It will be stronger, not because more students walk across the stage, but because of what they walk across the stage with. They will walk across the stage in 4 years with a plan. They will have the knowledge and skills needed to fulfill that plan. They will have the confidence they can now finish their journey to a better life that is above the poverty index. We take our students where they are when they come to us, and we start building a plan for success for each student that comes into our building. We are a 10, 11, 12 building. When our students come to us from 9th grade, we take their test data. This current group, it was their ACT Aspire, and we take their NWEA scores from junior high, and we start developing individualized education plans for each student that enters our building. We place the students reading below a 6th grade level into a critical reading course so that they can work on foundational reading skills to improve their reading level, because we realize that is essential to performance at the high school level. We place those who score less than ready on the ACT Aspire in math, science, or reading in ready math, ready science, and ready English courses to drill down in the areas of their specific deficits. We provide tutoring for our students 7 days a week. We also provide transportation for our students to each and every tutoring session. During tutoring, students are able to work directly with content area teachers in specific areas of weakness. We are indeed excited about the Atlas assessment because we feel we have a standard-based target that we can prepare our students to hit. Our teachers are already assessing that platform for information and writing into their lesson plans how it is to be provided to use it for exposure to our students every day as we move forward. Even though we cannot control how our students come to us, our growth from the point they arrive to the time they leave is among some of the highest in the state. In 2023, our literacy growth score was 82.88, was the 3rd highest in our area among high poverty schools. We move our students to this extent in less than 150 days before they take the state mandated exam on our campus. And we continue to grow them until they graduate from our campus. We feel our students are trending in the right direction, and we would love the opportunity to continue this trend with a solid plan and a relentless pursuit of betterment for our students. With that, I say thank you, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I believe we'll have our legal review, and then we'll open it up for questions. Mr. Reynolds?
Stephen Reynolds, staff attorney for the department. I'll just go in order for the legal review. So waiver topic number 1 is the attendance. The charter seeking to waive Arkansas Code annotated 618-213 F2. I have no legal concerns about that. I did have one note. This waiver would allow the charter to collect ADM funding for students that they aren't providing services for. That's just kind of the reality of waiving that section. Waiver topic number 2 is class size. The charter seeking to waive Arkansas Code annotated 617-812. The standard for accreditation 1A5, and DESI rules governing class size and teaching load. I don't have any legal concerns with that. Waiver topic number 3 is teaching load. The charter seeking to waive standard 1A6 and the DESI rules governing class size and teaching load. I don't have any legal concerns with that. Waiver topic number 4 is clock hours. The charter seeking to waive standard for accreditation 1A2. I don't have any legal concerns with that. Waiver topic number 5 is the flexible schedule. It's charter seeking to waive Arkansas Code annotated 616-102 except A5. I don't have any legal concerns with that. Waiver topic number 6 is the instructional day. The charter seeking to waive standard for accreditation 1A42. I don't have any legal concerns with that. Waiver topic number 7 is the teacher licensure. Charter seeking to waive Arkansas Code annotated section 615-1004, section 617-309, section 617-401, section 617-418, section 617-902, section 617-908, Section 617.919, standard for accreditation 4D1, and Section 7 of the rules governing educator licensure. I don't have any legal concerns with that. The charter, those are the waivers that the charter is seeking to continue. And the charter is requesting to rescind the following waivers. I'll just go by waiver topic. So waiver topic number 1 is attendance. I don't have any legal concerns with that. This rule was repealed. Waiver topic number 2 is curriculum. I guess I'll have to go through the actual standards. It's standard for accreditation 1A 131 and 1A 137. I don't have any legal concerns with that. The waiver topic number 3 is the board of directors. Is Arkansas Code annotated 613-609. I don't have any legal concerns with that. The statute was repealed. Waiver topic number 4, superintendent licensure. It's standard for accreditation 4B2. I don't have any legal concerns with that. Waiver topic number 5 is the principal. Arkansas Code annotated 617-302, standard 4C1 and standard 4C2. I don't have any legal concerns with that. Waiver topic number 6 is school counselor. Charter seeking to rescind standard for accreditation 4E1 and 4E2. I don't have any legal concerns with that. Waiver topic number 7 is library media program. Is Arkansas Code annotated 625-103. I don't have any legal concerns with that. Waiver topic number 8 is the library media specialist. Arkansas Code annotated 625-103, standard for accreditation for F1 and for F2. I think this was a typographical error. I think the correct code section was supposed to be 625-104. And I'll get the charter to confirm that. Was it the right waiver? So it's supposed to be, so this was 625-103. So it's supposed to be,
Good morning, Dr. Sutherland, members of the panel. Trip Walter, Staff Attorney, APSRC. On behalf of the applicant, I would ask that under waiver topic 8 to be rescinded, that the statutory reference from 625-103 be changed to 625-104.
Thank you.
I don't have any legal concerns with that. So waiver topic number 9 is the comprehensive school counseling plan. The charter seeking to rescind standard for accreditation 2C1 and 2C2. I don't have any legal concerns with that. And waiver topic number 10 is the monitoring procedures to ensure curriculum alignment. Charter seeking to waive standard 1A3. I don't have any legal concerns with that.
All right.
And with that, I'm done.
All right. Thank you. Yes. Dr. Wright McMurray?
Okay, I do have a couple of questions about a few of the waivers, so I don't know if Stephen needs to go or come back. And they're just more for clarification points. First, I would like to say thank you to the charter for rescinding those waivers that you feel like you no longer need. So that means you dug in, did some work, and realized what you can do and can't do, so I do appreciate that. I just need a little bit of clarification. The first waiver you mentioned on attendance, you made a comment that they could receive funding for students that they're not serving. Can you please provide a little bit more detail on how that would happen, or?
Right, so that statute, that section is for the requirement for a school district to drop a student after 10 days of consecutive absences. And so theoretically, waiving that section would allow the district or the student to remain enrolled in the district even though they're not attending the school. And so as long as the student's still enrolled, this district is still getting foundation funding for them, even though they're not actually at the school.
Is that typical? Is that what happens, or? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks.
That's not a waiver that we use very much at all, but dealing with the high mobility of our students, what we typically do is at 3, 5, and 9 days, we reach out to the family of any student that we cannot contact or has missed those many consecutive days. And what we so often find is that that student has been relocated. Sometimes it's with a friend or relative, or we found students in other states. But after the 9th day, we turn it over to our district-wide truancy board, and they make an effort to reach those students before we actually drop them. But once we turn them over to the district level, we only have 1 day left before they would drop from the roll. And once a student drops, you know, the chance of them graduating in 4 years pretty much diminishes completely, and the chance of them graduating in 5 years greatly diminishes. And we realized that if we could just get 2 to 3 more days for our district board to reach out and find these students, and it gives us a chance, if it's something that we can assist the student with that's keeping the kid from coming to school, we would like to correct that and get them back in school rather than drop them. Because once they know they've lost basically a semester, their whole mindset changes as it pertains to education.
Do you have other questions on that one? Because I have a question related to that.
I'll let you ask your questions if I have
Okay.
a question.
So I guess my question would be, in terms of the deadlines for when that happens, you said 3, 6, and 9, what would happen if you back that timeline up for turning it over to the district?
That is a possibility. We could turn it over sooner. And that's just what we have been doing up until this year. We've always, at the 9th day, we do the home visit with either our truancy officer or admin. And if we can't find that kid by the 9th day, we turn it over to the district level. But that is something that we could consider.
And I say that only because I can see, not to say that it would happen, but there could be some mistakes made in terms of, you know, dropping the student if that's not in place with,
Correct.
you know, with the waiver. Dr. Wright McMurray?
So that was my next question, is potentially if we could do something different with the timeline
Mm-hmm.
to where we could, you know, provide more of that flexibility for you in that realm versus carrying it all the way through. I'm just not sure
And
that's,
that would be a district policy.
okay.
Correct. And the other thing that I would like to make the panel aware of as well is we drop at 10. The only time that there would be anything different is we went to the counselor and specifically said, we're still trying to locate this particular kid for whatever particular reason we may have. Otherwise, they do drop all students after 10 consecutive days.
I have an additional question about this. I'm not familiar with that statute, so I didn't know about that, so it might be outlined further in that statute. But like, what's the limit on that? Like if a student
Usually no
misses-
more than 2 or 3 days. We just try to give our district team at least a couple of days to come behind us because they have more resources our resources come from our building. But the district resources, they're able to be out in longer periods of time searching down these students. So we try to give them at least 2 to 3 days to try to locate those students.
Okay, because with this statute, this might be a legal question, would this allow someone to miss 25 days?
No.
And the statute allows that?
Yeah, I mean, the requirement is the 10 days. And so if you waive that requirement, then theoretically it could be, you know, anytime. The school could have a student enrolled and they're not showing up to school.
Could a waiver mention that, put some limit on that? I'm just uncomfortable with that carte blanche of, oh, they could just miss the whole semester.
Yeah, I mean, the CAP can limit the waivers and provide, you know, the panel can limit the waivers and provide, you know, some sort of accountability structure within the waiver, or can not grant that specific waiver as part of the
Apparently it was
application.
approved before, but that just, I'm not familiar with that. That just sounds caught me off guard.
I was wondering why it was approved before. That seems.
I couldn't tell you that.
Saraceni?
Well, I just want to clarify, because when you get into that, and say they enroll somewhere else, which it happens all the time. I'm just thinking back in my old position at a large district, you know, so they're going to 2 schools. I mean, if we just have it open-ended, it becomes a money issue too.
And also a data issue.
Yes, because if they're enrolled here and they're still receiving funds, so it stays on the books and they would receive that entire amount all year long, whether they come back or not, when you waive this.
Yeah, and I didn't have any legal concerns with, I mean, that's not a legal question. It was just more of I've flagged that just for the CAP's attention. So,
So I will,
yeah, sure.
I will say that I do understand
Yes, ma'am.
your explanation and your rationale. So I'm not saying that I'm not supportive of that, because I do understand that when students feel as if their options are limited, then they start to check out, and we don't want that to happen.
Correct.
However, I'm, like my colleagues, I'm just not as comfortable with the idea of just there being a kind of an
Open-ended.
open-ended
Yes, ma'am.
date on that. So I would be more comfortable if we could figure out a way to meet the needs of what you need to do to support our kids, but then also what we need to do to make sure that data is clean and that we're not having any fiscal concerns.
Because there is no, it's open-ended. So we're willing to rescind that waiver, and we'll make some changes on district policy to give our district group a chance to get started maybe a little earlier, so that we can still try to reach those students before it gets to the point that's critical.
I think that is a good decision. Yeah, I appreciate that. Any other questions?
I did.
Yes.
Sorry.
Dr. Wright McMurray?
And then this is just also more, just a little bit more detail or more, yes, sir. Clarification, so I'm looking under teaching load, and the explanation for CTE is that teaching load may need to be increased in instances where career pathway has a large number of students interested in participating. Do you mind just providing a little bit more detail or an example of what that would look like?
We have not gotten to that point. We anticipated that it could, depending on what pathways we bring into the building. Kids have a tendency to flock to what's popular, and we don't want to have to turn a student back because they exceed the number that teacher can have. But we have not had that issue yet. Probably the closest that we have right now is our criminal justice program, and he's pretty close to maxed out, but we have not had that issue as of yet. But that's why we did ask for that particular waiver.
And if teaching load is exceeded, is there compensation for the teacher?
That has not been discussed, no.
Yeah. I just wondered, because if the program does become very popular and the teacher has an enormous amount of students, that might be something to consider.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Which was my next question, but you
Yeah.
And then just one more, the comment, sorry. No, go ahead.
Okay. So we do have the waiver would require us to pay for extra students, and so that was an error on my part. So that teacher would be compensated for those extra students.
Thank you.
And then my last waiver question. Again, it's a relationship to CTE under clock hours, and it looks like you're speaking of internship,
Yes.
and where students may not make their hours.
Yeah, on campus.
Okay.
Some of our students will do half of their day at the campus. Typically, by the time they're senior, it's their English and math that they're pursuing, and then we would give them that credit for that afternoon, working with whatever partner we have partnered them up with as it pertains to which particular pathway they may be trapped.
So it's more so they may not make their hours on campus.
Correct.
But they're making their hours, it just may not be on the
On campus, yes, ma'am.
But they will be making their full hours to get the internship credit, which is the 120 hours.
Through, right, either directly through an internship or an employment that's a result through their internship.
Which is aligned to the course.
Correct.
Okay.
Ms. Saraceni, do you have any questions? Mr. Baldwin?
I appreciated your report, and especially the comparisons to the other school districts in the area, and the growth percentage was I thought very good. But I do want to talk about the letter grade. a
Yes,
little
sir.
bit. Have you been a D-rated program since the beginning?
We were at one point a C,
Let's see.
and then we fell right after that to a D, and then we did COVID, and we're now in the process of trying to rebound.
Okay, and you say you were real close to a C. How?
We were a C.
You were a C?
We were a C, and then we failed to a D,
Yes.
and then COVID, and now we're in the process of trying to get back to that C and beyond that we once were.
Yes, and you had said that you were closing the gap to the C.
Yes, sir.
I was wondering how far are you right now from the C?
We were 2 points with the last ACT Aspire data that we received.
Okay. What levers do you need to pull in your perspective to close that gap, and how long do you see that taking?
Well, every group of ninth graders we get is different. So what's this particular group's strong suit may be the next group's weakness. So our ELA in math has to improve. It carries a great deal of weight for our score. So we're talking about foundational issues that we have to address as a district and put solid plans in place at the secondary level to get these students moved from the time they get to our building in August until they test in April. So all the tutoring, all the drill down, all the specific IEPs that we do for our students is what we're doing to try to move that letter grade, but it really is a foundational issue. I don't think there's any magic dust. It's gonna take us rolling up our sleeves, getting these kids exposed to high-level instruction, engaged in their own educational process, and I think that's what's gonna move us to the next letter grade.
Well, I encourage you to make that effort. I think you don't ever want to get content.
We are not content with being a
Okay.
D. Thank you.
Ms. Newton?
Just a segue or comment to Mr. Baldwin's question and comment. I want to congratulate you on the resources and the supports that you have put in place for your student. I
Thank
think
you.
that those things are critical to their success, and critical to moving forward. But more often than not, some resources are not available to help shore up students and their families and what they need. So I want to say, I think that is a critical piece in the puzzle for the academy, and I want to congratulate you and your staff on having that
Thank you.
available.
Thank you.
Dr. Moore?
Hi. So I want to applaud you on your growth. In the past, worked some with West Memphis School District in mathematics, and I know what a challenge it is at the high school level, because I really appreciate when you said we take students how they come to us.
Yes, ma'am.
And I remember those days. I remember working with Ms. Wagner and how challenging it is when a student is coming to you at the level that they're at, and you're trying to get them up in geometry and algebra 2. And I know the challenges that you face there, and I appreciate the growth, because that's what you're really looking for when a student's coming to you at that level. You're looking to get that growth, so that is great. I do have questions about, I appreciate the opportunity for students to have concurrent enrollment and earn certificates and certifications both, but why have those gone down so much? The numbers have dropped drastically. I know you did mention that Mid-South closed some programs, but
So-
even the programs that they still have, it looked like a lot of those numbers were down.
Well, one of the obvious reasons that they went from 14 programs to 6 that they now offer, and we're in the process now of trying to get some of those where we can house them on our campus so that our students can gain access to those programs. That will cause our numbers to go up. And programs about popularity. You got to offer what kids want. We don't force our kids to go out to the college and say, you're going to have to go take this, because and some of the programs that they got rid of were some of the more popular programs. So the kids are not as into, we do great with our Med Pro and our Diesel, but those are by far the two most popular programs that they have at the college right now. So we got to get some high interest programs that end with industry recognized certifications on our campus, so that all of our kids will have an opportunity to find a pathway that they choose, not one that we force them into.
And so, like, concurrent numbers, I believe, were down as well. Is there anything that points to why concurrent credits were down?
Can't put my finger on a specific as to why our concurrent numbers dropped, other than when we did go through the COVID ordeal, we ended up going virtual, and a lot of students went home. And we're still working on getting students used to being back out of the home and into the classroom, and that pertains to the college as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, first of all, thank you for what I consider to be a very thorough and very good presentation. Do want to talk about just a couple of things and then a couple of questions. The first thing is I want to say, way to go in regards to your growth score. I'm somebody who's always interested in the growth score, and you all are doing, you're doing well when it comes to that, and taking students, as you've mentioned, who've come to you and moving them forward. The other thing, in doing just a little bit of my work on the background side, is the college credit rate. You all are doing, I think, exceedingly well when you look at the number of students who are receiving college credit, and that's across demographics. right? Even your low-income students are receiving above state average college credits and all other demographics as well. So I first want to say, way to go in regards to that. Where there are concerns, I think my panel members have sort of asked those questions. One is around the letter grade, and we may want to just double check there. The letter grade that's reported in My School Info is actually about 4 points away from that next letter grade, right? It's kind of right there in the middle is what they have you as. And so we may need to look at making sure that we are updating in a timely fashion so that the most relevant information is there. And then, of course, I'm going to call out, and I think you're right about how I appreciate how you're thinking about the education that you're providing to students, ensuring that they have the opportunity, if they're interested in accessing some type of post-secondary college education, those students are able to do so, but also placing an emphasis on students who are interested in going another path and ensuring that they have what they need. So I want to say congratulations on thinking about those things that way. Now, with that being said, I love the idea of the things you have offered in regards to your ACT prep, but you're still in a situation where those students are, behind, I think, what the capabilities are based upon the amazing programming that you're providing those students. And the one question I do have, and feel free to respond to anything that I've said. I know I'm just sort of putting a lot out there. But the one question I do have, I want to hear a little bit more about this facility and when you plan on the CTE work and happening on campus. I appreciate you being proactive and understanding that the partnership may not get you what you need. Therefore, there's some things that you would need to do on your own campus. Can you talk to me just a little bit more about where you are in that process?
Yes, sir. Well, I will start that response, and I will let Dr. Brown probably going to be in a better position to tell you the exact timeline. We've already started the process of looking at what some other facilities do. We went to Benton, we took a look at what they have there, which is absolutely amazing. And we really want to take bits and pieces from some of the best programs and centers in the state as it pertains to what we're going to try to build and provide for our students in West Memphis. So we're in the very early stages of getting that done. But even when the college was providing for our students at the best that it could, there were still restrictions that came with it because it was a college campus, and we had to respect the atmosphere that they were trying to protect with adults coming into their building who were, they were spending money, they were customers, so we understood the GPA requirement and some of the other things, but we want to provide a state-of-the-art facility on our campus that can offer everything that the college did without the restrictions. Now, what we're going to spend for that and when we're going to be able to build that, I will yield to Dr. Brown.
Good morning again. Thank you for your question. We're at the tail end of like $100 million 5-year building plan. And so there has not been a building campus in the school district that has not been touched. And so as we complete this part of the building phase, we've come to recognize that we need to upgrade our CTE facilities on campus. That's a much older building. So we are in the planning stage this year to see if we want to replace the building or if we will be allowed to, the state will allow us to update it because the building was grandfathered in. It's an older building, was grandfathered in. And so we are in the preliminary planning stages. But we completed, and I'm kind of speaking in chunks. Once we finished our second junior high, our first junior high was completely finished this year and it is being opened. We have another junior high that's using facilities on the high school campus that once they are, that building is complete, they will move back to their building, and then we'll have an opportunity to remodel that space and redo that space. So this is a planning year, and it will be within the next 18 to 24 months before we are completely finished, and that will be depend on whether or not the state says, no, we're not going to grandfather that in anymore, you have to replace it, or if we're able to just simply remodel the CTE building as it stands. One other piece to it, we have a junior high that was closed, that we are remodeling. And we're gonna move some offices and some programming that exists on the high school campus to that building. And that will free up space for some of the, and one new building on the high school campus that can be used for CTE offerings, especially around STEM education and some of our other programming. So we're on the move. We're just waiting as we complete the huge investment to the tune of like $100 million, and then we can move on to the next part.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for that. I don't know, and you might have said this already. Have you had the opportunity to visit the Ignite program at the Bentonville School District?
I think.
Is that?
I have not.
And if not, I want to go ahead and send that invitation. I'll be more than happy to make the connection with the superintendent, Debbie Jones, there. They have an outstanding program. Now, granted, I know Bentonville's different from West Memphis. I understand that. But some of the things you're wrestling with in regards to how to think about programming,
Yes, sir.
and what that might mean, those sort of questions were also asked there. And, I know it might be an aspirational push, but it might be something that, helps begin to round the thinking on some of these items.
And I want to clarify my comment. I have not visited the campus. All right. So, okay. You said Bentonville. Which one did you? Okay. So we've not visited the Bentonville campus. The team did go to Benton to see their campus, and so yes, I appreciate that.
And once again, I just want to offer that opportunity. I'll be more than happy to make that connection, and even kind of spend some time with you if necessary. If you were able to make it to this side of the state and kind of show you what is happening on this side of the state, just once again, from an aspirational and learning perspective.
Yes, sir. We
But I
accept your
appreciate all the
invitation.
great work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have an additional question.
I
Oh,
think
is there
Ms.
someone there?
Saraceni
Okay, I'm sorry.
had a question.
Apologize, Carly.
Well, I just want to say thank you for your presentation. It's great. Thank you for y'all reaching out to me about licensure, because I didn't have any questions today. So thank you so much for that clarification. That helps tremendously when we can have those conversations before. I just want to I am hesitant because I know Dr. Davis looks at it too. We look at where we are, and right now we are at a D. I just have pause with 5 years and still maybe coming back within 3 and seeing where we are then. That's just my only concern, pause, thought, suggestion.
Any other thoughts from other members
About that, or just,
about that?
so is that an option to approve for 3 instead of 5?
We could.
I think it would give us a chance. They've put things in place and we could see that growth then.
I like that idea.
Dr. McMurray, any thoughts?
I didn't have a thought on that. I had a comment on something else, but.
Okay.
And may I speak to that? And I think that's a generous offer, and we thank you. Our preference would be the 5, so we could work with our entire class, but we would be more than interested in accepting the interim, or be asked to provide interim updates on a regular basis, if that would be helpful to the committee. And I do understand and respect your concern around the 5-year.
My comment on that is I would lean toward the 5 years. We have the
appreciate that.
ability to come in and to look and to see what's happening. But I think what 5 years does is it gives you a longer runway,
Yes.
and so you're always looking those variables that have happened, at the point they were seen. So we look at their plan, their curriculum, and their support. So I'd be more inclined to think that, like I say, with a longer runway and the opportunity to look further into what's down the road, and still with the department having the capability to be able to look at any time to see if that's something that needs to be reconsidered. But if I were in your shoes,
Yes.
I would like to have that flexibility to be able to look long range as opposed to what a shorter period.
And I concur with that, and I appreciate the offer too. We would prefer the longer length of time, but we are very much open to giving regular status updates related to performance or any specific targets that the committee has.
Is there any other discussion around that before we move to Dr. Moore's question? Okay, Dr. Moore?
I was wondering, I may have just overlooked it in the application, but I didn't hear or read anything about the work keys, and I was just wondering how that is panning out in your school, because Crittenden County is a work-ready community, and that's like a real opportunity for students to earn a credential, and especially since credential numbers are down.
We originally had all of our seniors go through the work keys as we were partnering up with the community. That was last year. We have not had that opportunity to get all of our seniors through that on this year, but we do understand the potential and opportunity that it opens up, having that credential in their tool bag when they walk across the stage. So that is something that we try to invest time into.
Yeah, I would highly recommend ensuring that all students take that just as much as you do the ACT. And of course, with new legislation, there's more of a focus on that anyway. But I think the original intent of the legislation, Senator English would have said for all students to take it, not just it be offered as an option. So highly encourage that.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Rackman-Murray?
Just a couple of comments and a couple of suggestions and a few more questions. So Chair Sutherland knows that I usually have a lot of questions. So
Yes, ma'am.
just give me that latitude, please. So first, you have a shining star in your district that I feel like can greatly support your graduation rates.
Yes,
So I was looking at your JAG data, and so for those of you that may not be as familiar, Jobs for Arkansas Graduates is a program designed to support our students that may have some type of barrier to graduating on time with their peers. And just this past year, JAG National went from a 505 model to a 606, which means that they have increased the number of outcomes you have to obtain to be seen as an exemplary program. West Memphis was designated as an exemplary program. The graduation rate requirement from the national office is 90% of students that are in JAG have to graduate on time with their peers, which means on 4 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So West Memphis had 100% of the students that are in JAG graduate on time with their peers. So in looking at your 4-year graduation rate, it looks like it's about 85.8 is what's listed here.
Yes, ma'am.
I would encourage you to lean more into the JAG program and the JAG model. Many of our schools that have a larger number of students that would qualify for JAG sometimes offer 2 programs in a school so that you can get more students into the program and increase your outcomes. I even pulled the further graduation. So further education speaks to students getting credential certifications beyond the high school typical classroom instruction or diploma. And the national standard is 35, you guys were at 37, so you outpaced the national standard as well. And then they also added this past year that JAG has to follow all the students after graduation to see how they're doing. And that connectivity rate is at 90%, you guys were at 100%. So I feel that you have a exemplary model that's within your district that can help you with some of your outcomes. So I would lean into that a little bit more, and if possible, try to see if you can add a program within your school so that you have more students that can be in that process and get those supports. Because Ms. West, who's your JAG specialist, obviously is doing a wonderful job, and so you have somebody in place that if you do add another specialist that could be a great mentor to the next person.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So additional questions that I had, just a little bit more detail, looking at your SMART goals. And again, when CTE is mentioned, you know, my eyes and ears perk up. So goal 3, you want to increase the number of students that are earning certifications. Can you give us a little bit more detail on what are going to be some of those actionable things that you anticipate putting in place so that we can see those outcomes received.
Yes, ma'am. As far as trying to get them, again, going back to the replacing what we lost at the college, we feel like if we get just the 8 programs they lost back on our campus, that in itself would get more students certified. We're looking at the state sent out a list of some of the most high demand job markets that we could put students into. So we're looking at adding programs from that list to our campus so that we can increase that number of students who graduate with certifications. But we're still in the building phases. We're looking for room to put those students so that we can offer those programs on campus. Like Dr. Brown said, that's why we're so excited about our junior high getting off our campus this year, so that we can open up another part of our campus to get some of these programs up and going. But we're currently looking at which ones can be reinstalled into our campus at what phase of the building. Which ones can we get in while we have our CTE lab available to us now as is with the modifications. And we have a building of 4 classrooms right now that is being used to house a different program that's going to be moved. And we're looking at what programs would we be best benefited to move into that building as far as, materials needed to house the program. We know that the heavy lifting like auto mechanics and all that, we're gonna have to have a space all its own for that. So we're all looking at some things that we can do in that building as it is to try to get programs back on campus as quick as possible.
And then your goal for where you're planning to add 5 additional CTE pathways?
At a minimum.
Okay.
At a minimum.
Can you just walk us through a little bit, how did you select these pathways that you're planning on adding?
Some of those are based strictly off student popularity, things that students saw and had a interest in. But sometimes what the students have the highest interest in, if it does not end with an industry credential, it's really not to their benefit necessarily to add those programs. So what we're trying to do is we're going to try to merge what they have an interest in and what the state says is going to end up getting you a credential that's going to get you a job when you graduate. So, we have to make an adult decision on those, but what those 5 programs are going to be are still yet to be determined. But we will take in consideration what the students want, but we'll also take in consideration what the students need so that they can graduate high school with a plan that's going to help them get above the poverty index.
And you're basing the students' desired pathways off of what process are you using to identify?
Student surveys. We did student surveys. We did student surveys. We did community surveys, and we had all that information as to what the students wanted. Man, our students have a burning desire for cosmetology, and we really want to try to give them that. But at the same time, we got to look beyond high school. What credential will you actually graduate with cosmetology? What percentage of our population will it touch? So we have to take all those things in consideration before we go and put in the leg work and move a building around to where we can accommodate cosmetology. So we want to take that in consideration, but at the same time, we have to do what's going to be most beneficial and efficient for the students that we serve.
So at what point are students surveyed? Like what part, what grade?
It was all grades. It was across the curriculum when we did the surveys. It was 10th, 11th, and 12th. We don't have 9th grade in our building.
Okay.
So it was 10th, 11th, and 12th when we did the surveys.
Okay. And are the student success plans a part of this process or no?
It was not no, it was not. We look at our student success plans and what they plan for, but that was not part of the, what we were using to determine what pathways we were thinking about bringing to the campus.
So the reason why I was kind of trying to get a little bit more detail on the process that you're using to get to, one, the pathways that you selected, and then when are students being engaged to think about those pathways, is because the structure of the CTE programs of study and how we want students to move through pathways. And so ideally, the best scenario of students are able to get enrolled in those pathways beginning, say, in the 9th grade. Then they're able to take that foundational course that then leads to the different levels.
Correct.
And then when they get to that 12th grade year, they're either in that level 4 or they're getting a work-based entering experience. And the reason why I think that's extremely important for specifically your district is because when we look at our outcomes for students that are identified as concentrators, those are taking 2 or 3 courses and 2 more courses in a pathway. and then those that are completers, those that are graduating through a
Right.
pathway, we do continue to see those gaps for our students that are in some of our, what we consider to be special populations.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that's why I would strongly encourage them, if we could have those conversations earlier with our students,
Yes, ma'am.
so that they also have as much of an opportunity as their peers to be able to enroll in a pathway and then be able to be concentrators and completers, because we see that's where the true strength of outcomes happens for our students. Higher graduation rates, higher post-secondary education, higher economic growth and development, and once they graduate from high school is when they engage early. So that's why I was asking all those questions.
Yes, ma'am.
To try to encourage you to be able to do that earlier, so that all of our kiddos can have the best opportunity to succeed and pursue through a CTE pathway effectively.
And I agree 100% that process needs to start with our freshmen and with the building leaders that we have at our 2 junior highs now. Those conversations are being had about how we can become one coordinated effort to get our babies where they need to be. But this is my first year as the building principal, so we're trying to build this as we go. But there are conversations being had with our junior high builders about what is in the best interest of our 9th graders as they prepare to enter into the 10th grade. What can you do to best prepare them for their completion or their concentrated status in the 9th grade? So we are having those conversations.
So I would encourage you to work very closely. I saw you have 4 career coaches.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would encourage you to work very closely with them so that they can carry that message earlier to your students, and if when possible, engage them in when you are making selection of those pathways, so they can be educating students on what's coming,
What possibilities
so
are
that they're not getting into the 10th or 11th grade and saying, oh, I'd love to do this, but they've missed 2 valuable years where they could be effective.
Yes, ma'am. And we do have our freshman seminar where we do expose them to all the things that we offer either at the high school, and then we'll bring all the freshmen up and they'll get to walk the campus and see the different things that we offer. And then we offer a career fair where they go to the college and they get to walk the campus of the college and see what all, so they get exposed in the junior highs, but not to the extent that we would like for them to be exposed. So we're trying to build on that.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry,
Dr. Moore?
I just have one more little thing. I was looking at your math course offerings, and just something you may want to consider in the future, since you have such a strong CTE focus, is to consider the technical math, because it doesn't, I know you're not offering that, at least it wasn't offered this
It's not.
current school year. That might be a great opportunity for students, since you have such a focus on
Yes, ma'am.
career and technical. It counts as a 4th math, even beyond Algebra 2, so it's a great opportunity for students.
We would definitely consider that.
Other questions? Mr. Baldwin?
I'd like to go back to Dr. Brown's comment about being willing to provide periodic reports, and I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what that would look like. And so what I was thinking, and we're talking about 5 years versus 3 years, and I know you prefer 5, and I would too if I was you. That gives some time. What I would like to see or think about would be understanding the 3 or 4 or 5 key drivers of the grade and what you are going to do to affect that. And I understand every class is different, and so but you'll have to factor that into this. But to have something that we could look at periodically, that would be more than just what we see here. Because I look at this and I don't know. We look at all the grades for all the schools, and there's not anything detailed in here. And so I would like to see what you all are focused on to go from a D to a C and see how you're progressing along that lines. Is that the type of report you were thinking about? Something like that?
First of all, and thank you again for the question, we'd be willing to collaborate on whatever sort of data that this committee would need to better understand where we're going. But in terms of the type of reporting, I think it's an opportune time for this because we're moving from the ACT Aspire to the Atlas, and so this renewal will correspond with that, and we could then offer real time or end of the year data, apples to apples, so you could see where we are in a timely manner.
I have no doubt you all are focused on this,
Yeah.
but I also know there's a lot that you've got to do every day. And so I've always found for myself as a banker, we look at numbers a lot, and when we have improvements to make, I liked to get reports that showed me how I'm doing. Because there was a lot of you know, my day was busy and so is yours. So if there's a way to collaborate like you say, because I don't have an answer, I just have a thought about how we can help you maybe with what you're doing. And maybe a proper report would be a way to do that.
I have a question connected with
Yes,
the field.
Ms. Newton?
So with a 5-year renewal, would it be prohibitive to do what you're asking as opposed to a 3-year or 5-year? Wouldn't we still have the same ability to be able to monitor or put into place conditions where I just think that in planning, I've seen the information and the supports. I know that COVID dealt us all a wretched hand. And in light of the fact that you were a C and you're so close to a C, I'd like to have, if I were an administrator, I'd like to have that extra. Also built into that is the ability for us to put those conditions in place, and that's just
And that ability is there.
right.
So,
And that's really where I was headed.
Yeah.
Is I'm fine with 5 years if we can have a progressive report.
I think I am too, as long as we can come back
mhm.
and keep monitoring.
And at any point in time, we could do that.
So for my clarification, what are we deciding? Sorry.
So the discussion was around a 5-year renewal, but with reporting built in. So we could determine at what point we would want that reporting now. You know, it could be a 2.5-year reporting, it could be a 2-year reporting, it could be a 3-year reporting, whatever this body decides.
And I think it might be even, because I think the report has to be appropriate.
Mhm.
It has to be more detailed than this.
Well, and
So-
I think too, to Dr. Wright McMurray's point, the SMART goals that they have laid out, those should be what we are looking at too as your progress towards those SMART goals.
So maybe this panel's thought would be to ask DESE and the school district to come together and figure out what works for everybody and not try to set that right now, because I don't think we know enough right now
Right.
to do that.
Yes, because that was, sorry, because I didn't want to get too much into, like I said, I just focused in on the ones that were, it was all about me on the CTE for the goals, but it would have been helpful, and it'll be helpful going forward if I can see where you feel like you are and where you feel like you would like to be. Because that's why I was trying to ask a little bit more detailed questions about those 2 goals, because I needed a little bit more actionable activity was going to take place, and then also to kind of see what was going to be your goal if you are given the 5-year, at the end of the 5-year, what would that outcome look like? So those would be some things that I would want to see going along. Because part of it is, I did greatly appreciate you sharing the amount of resources and services and supports that are in place. But I just need to kind of get a chance to kind of figure out if we put in more things, what's going to be the outcome for those pieces. Because it's like we're still having some challenges, and with that being in place there, I'm just trying to get my mind reconciled around what do we need to have happen to see movement. Because I feel like the work is there, you guys are putting in the resources, and you're coming up with great interventions, but we're still struggling for some reason, trying to figure out how to right that ship. So.
And I think to Mr. Baldwin's point, if we can get you all together collaborating with the department to, you know, maybe even flesh out those SMART goals a little bit more, so that whenever we have a review, we can look at those and see if we're meeting those SMART goals.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Then I have a motion if you're ready.
Any other discussion before we go for
I
a
don't
motion?
think so.
All right, Ms. Newton.
Okay, taking into consideration all the comments and remarks and recommendations, I move to approve the application of the Academies of West Memphis for a 5-year renewal of their charter.
And did we want to build in the reporting feature?
And the report, I thought I prefaced that,
okay.
but anyway,
Yes.
including reporting requirements.
All right.
I second.
I do have a question.
Dr. Wright McMurray?
Okay, well, my question is, what is the timeline for them coming back to give the reporting? Do we need to include that in? Sorry, do we need to include that in the motion, the timeline for them to come back and report?
I think there
For
needs
us,
to
and
be
then for
some,
also for them to be able to know what to prepare for.
I think there needs to be some clarity around that.
Okay.
So do you,
And I'm open to recommendations, because my understanding is that Mrs. Summons and her folks are in the process of doing that anyway, so I don't want to appoint, artificial.
Oh,
It might-
yes,
it might,
yes.
You know, to say in a year or two, when that's already ongoing, I don't know, it may not be, but that's the impression I had to say, here's what you asked for, and here's how we did it, as opposed to, setting, and I'm not, like I say, I'm not an educator, I'm a social worker.
Well, and I think, you know, we are doing reporting at this point, but we're not really, you know, as far as the unique situation here where we're doing a direct collaboration, if that's something we want to see happen, we can include that in the motion.
I take the recommendation of the board, you know, in that area, especially the CTE connected people.
I like the direct collaboration and the details, because this doesn't give us anything, it just gives us the grade. And so I think the details will be most helpful to you all. And
So does that need an amendment, or?
I think we need an amendment to the motion.
You want an amendment?
I'm lost on that.
So do we want to say,
Maybe we
okay,
can start over.
so I'll voice it, and then if you agree with it,
Okay.
then,
Okay.
so do we want to have a 5-year renewal with a report that is done in collaboration with the department that takes place halfway through the 5-year period, so 2.5 years? Is that,
I said what you said.
okay, you said what I said, okay. All right, so I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Uh-oh. Mr. Davis, was that for in favor?
Aye, I approve.
Oh, okay. There was a little lag there, and we weren't quite sure. So, any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Let us fill out our voting sheets, and congratulations. All right, we'll start with Mr. Baldwin.
Yes, I voted in favor of the requested 5-year renewal, accompanied by a letter grade improvement progress report presented to the charter panel at the midpoint of the 5-year term, with such report determined in collaboration between DESE and the Academies of West Memphis.
Dr. Wright McMurray.
I voted for. I support the Academies of West Memphis request for a 5-year renewal with an ADE collaboration report presented to CAP in 2.5 years.
Ms. Newton.
I voted in favor of the renewal based on a comprehensive plan to increase the capacity of students to get credentials in demand occupations.
Ms. Saraceni.
I support the renewal of the Academies of West Memphis conversion charter with the stipulated conditions.
Dr. Moore.
I support the Academies of West Memphis request to continue their charter for another 5 years under specified conditions, including working closely with DESE and set monitoring and review by the charter authorizing panel. The panel would be remiss not to acknowledge the letter grades of the feeder schools to the Academies of West Memphis. I commend the charter's growth scores and encourage their perseverance to also increase their achievement scores under the new Atlas testing. I highly recommend that all students complete the ACT Workkeys assessment for the opportunity to earn the NCRC.
All right. Mr. Davis.
I approve the motion to renew the conversion charter for the Academies of West Memphis in order to provide pathways for students in the region to post-secondary opportunities with the reporting stipulations.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all so much. I think we're going to take maybe just a quick break, about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back for the next part. Okay. So we'll call this meeting back to order. Our next presenters are Ms. Tiffany Grayer and Mr. Jeffrey Fetters.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Dr. Sutherland, panel. We're glad to be here with you today. We are, I'm the Director of School Performance and Monitoring. My name is Tiffany Grayer, and I'm here with Mr. Jeffrey Fetters. He is the Coordinator of Monitoring. And
Morning.
we are here to go over some of the 2023 state and federal accountability data with you today. So just a brief overview of our accountability systems here in Arkansas. We do have a timeline for releasing data here in Arkansas. Usually in October, we release our ESSA School Index and our public school rating reports, which includes the A to F letter grade, and also the school recognitions and rewards. I would mark your calendars that will be delayed in 2024 due to the change in assessment. We will have to go through standard setting, setting new cuts for A to F and all of that. So just be mindful that we will have late reporting next fall. In October, we also send out notification letters to districts who have been identified in the bottom 5% for comprehensive support and improvement, and also to schools who have consistently underperforming subgroups within their schools. And the state's definition of consistently underperforming means that the subgroup has scored in the bottom 1% for the current year and for 2 prior years. That's an annual notification. The comprehensive support, additional targeted support, and the various levels of comprehensive support. That's on a 3-year rotation. The last time schools were identified was 2022, and so the next identification round will be ESSA Cycle 3, which will happen in 2025. So we will determine exit criteria based on the current formula for those schools, just to maintain some consistency there. In December, so just last Friday, we pushed out the commissioner memo related to the exhaustive school report card, which is a combination of state and federal reporting values. Some of these go into the accountability measure. Some of them do not. That does have more values, including teacher quality values, school expenditure values. It does break down assessment data by grade level, and gives you crosstab reports. So if you want to see the percent in need of support at the district level for mathematics, that data value is there, but you do have to wait till the school report card is released. That's also where you can see the district level percent of need of support for reading. So some of those data metrics do come in a little later in the school year. By April, that school report card will be finished on the state side. So some of our data comes in late through Cycle 5, such as our annual school board training hours, and some other metrics. So the federal piece is due by December 31st. The state piece is due by April 15th. And this year we were monitored by USAID on our report card, had very minimal findings, and got praised by the feds on our compare and analyze features that we have available to schools and to our stakeholders. And we have fixed all of those minimal findings that they had for us. The ESSA School Index is comprised of multiple robust indicators. We have gone through a procedure where we have asked for feedback from all stakeholders, including Arkansas educators, district leaders, parents, families, all of those different stakeholders that we provide our reports to see how we could maybe make our system better. But we have been living under this system for about 7 years now, ever since we've adopted that ACT Aspire. So we are looking for ways to expand on what we are currently doing and make that better. So right now, the weights for ESSA calculation at the K-8 level, I don't believe you'll see any major shifts, but right now we have weighted achievement coming in at 35%, value-added growth coming in at 50%, and those measures are really including ELA and mathematics. Now the growth, you have that EL component, the progress towards English language proficiency, that counts proportional in our growth model. So the more English learners you have within a school, the more they count towards growth. So basically they're counting twice in your growth. They're counting once for content, they're counting once in their progress towards English language proficiency. So if a school has 100% English language learners, it'll be half and half content versus progress towards English language proficiency. If the school has 0 English learners, that whole growth measure will come from their content. The SQSS right now currently features student engagement, which is chronic absenteeism, science growth, science achievement, and reading at grade level. At the high school, you see the weights there. We have the additional SQSS components such as college and career readiness measures such as ACT, on-time credits, AP, IB, concurrent credit measures, things of that nature. But then we also have a 4-year adjusted cohort graduation rate and a 5-year adjusted cohort graduation rate. So for schools who are struggling with graduation, it's very important for them to be mindful about how they're enrolling their students and that those students are on time when they leave the school or district. If the student is not on time, that student remains at that school's in that school's cohort until either the receiving school can catch them up and graduate them on time, or if they left on time and they can provide sufficient documentation, they would come off. Our school rating is just a direct transformation from the ESSA School Index score. These cuts were set back in 2017, 2018 when we were establishing our ESSA system. And now that we are doing a rehaul to all of our standards, our assessment, and now our accountability system, we will be looking at setting new cuts. But those cuts were established years and years ago, and they do not move from year to year. So now that you're seeing more DNF schools, that is truly the impact that the pandemic had on school scores. So prior to that, you saw more of a normal bell curve, or even perhaps a skewness towards more A and B and C schools and less DNF. Now that whole distribution is just shifted. So these are all charters within the state, and they're color-coded based on the letter grade that the schools received. The Fs are showing up as red dots. The Ds are showing up as orange dots, and the size of the data points are based on the enrollment at the school. So that large orange circle in Northwest Arkansas is actually ARVA. So that's why it has such a large dot. The students may not all reside there. They reside all over the state, but that's where their headquarters are. This is another way to look at that geographic spread of the districts. The ones showing up in gold, those are our district conversion charters, versus the ones showing up in blue, those are our open enrollment charters. So what's interesting about this is their ESSA School Index scores from 2023, and what's kind of interesting about this distribution is while the majority of our district conversion charters are sort of all located near the center of the distribution, the open enrollments are kind of more widespread near either they're ranking near the top of the spread, or they're more towards the lower end of that distribution. So the open enrollment seem to be really high performing schools or more of the lower performing schools. The state average is not on here, but you just can kind of relate to one school to the other. I'll turn it over to Jeff. He's going to highlight some schools that were performing above and beyond in 2023.
I get the pleasant news, the pleasant task. So every year, the Office of Public School Accountability recognizes schools that have made progress in the 4 areas pertaining to ESSA, and that would be school letter grades, weighted achievement, the value-added growth score, and the overall ESSA school index score. So I just want to take a few minutes and share some of these charter schools with you today. The first one is Fayetteville Virtual Academy, a district conversion charter, and they increased their letter grade from B to an A and gained nearly 8 points on the ESSA school, their overall ESSA school index score. The next one is Driven Virtual Academy. Again, they increased their letter grade from a D to a C and gained over 7 points on their overall ESSA school index score. This again kind of just explains that they improved in both of those 2 components. Yeah, sure.
So while we are recognizing these 2 schools, I want to make an additional comment. These schools also had to increase by 5 or more points. So there are additional charters that increase their letter grade or may have increased their ESSA score, but these 2 schools met both conditions simultaneously.
So just looking at that weighted achievement component, those 2 schools, Fayette Virtual Academy and Driven Virtual Academy, also increased their weighted achievement scores. And additionally, Cabot Panther Academy, you can see improved 19 points on their weighted achievement. So this is coming from the statewide summative assessment scores. And also Responsive Ed Solutions Premier High School of Springdale gained almost 30 points. So that's also a pretty pronounced achievement. And finally, we had 2 schools that scored more than 2 standard deviation points above the mean of 80 in 2023. And those would be Haas Hall of Bentonville and Haas Hall Academy at the Lane. So congratulations to all those schools. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always good to hear something positive in our reporting. So I know you guys are interested in the DNF schools, especially the DNF charters that we have. So we had 12 charter schools, and these are combined open enrollment and district conversion that had an F in 2023, compared to only 10 in 2022. We had 31 charters, combined open enrollment and district conversion, that earned a D in 2023 compared to 27 in 2022. 4 of these schools, however, were new charters and did not have any reporting data prior to 2023, so that explains the uptick in numbers. And I have provided you guys with a list of the charters with D's and F's, so you can look at that list of charters. Here are where those charters reside within the state, so you can kind of see where they are geographically. Again, the D's are orange, the reds are F's. There were schools that also had a decline in letter grade from, this should say 22 to 23. I apologize about the dates on here. We had 2 schools decline from a B to a C. 5 schools declined from a C to a D. 1 went from a D to an F. We had 1 school decline from a C to an F, and then 1 decline from an A to a D. Yeah, and I've also provided you with that list as well. And then I have a whole lot of data about a whole lot of schools. So we have a review of the open enrollment charters, and then we would have a review of the district conversion charters. And Dr. Sutherland has let me know that you guys have looked at my presentation. So at this point, I would just ask what questions you have about any particular charters that I've provided data on.
Can you speak just a little bit to founders?
Of course. Oops. So Founders Classical Academy, these were the schools that I pulled. They had a school go from a C to a D, the West Little Rock, and the West Little Rock Elementary was the one school that actually declined from the A to the D. I've also included gross scores on this particular slide. In West Little Rock, the math gross score is significantly below the average. We are wanting to see gross scores around 80 or above, and this math gross score is at a 72.01, which I would have to say that had a significant impact on the decline in scores at this school. I would want to go a little further and dig on and look at West Little Rock's scores, because the growth alone is not enough to explain the stark decline from an A to a D. Mm-hmm. So if you look at West Little Rock, the 2023 overall score there is a 60.62, and I've included information about rebound rates. Their score dropped almost 20 points from 2022 to 2023. So with that being an elementary, if it's not the growth, it's got to be the achievement. And they are still 4.36 points away from being a C at that school. And we do have...
Can you go back to the previous slide?
Yes.
One more, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2022 letter grade, particularly for the online, were they, help me understand why they did not have a 2022 letter grade?
Because those were new schools.
Okay, so that's what I thought.
Yes.
I just want to call out for the committee the idea that, here you have new schools launching.
Yes.
Particularly with D and F grades.
Yes, and I would
Okay.
look at that math gross score for Founders Classical Academy Elementary online being a 47.78. And then we just approved another school for Founders.
Yes, and it's my understanding, right, when we look at growth scores, you've mentioned this, the idea of an 80 on a growth score indicates that a student has made what would be considered typical progress.
So,
Because above that is, how would you explain it?
So, sir, I would say that if a school has an 80, then that means the average student at that school is meeting the growth expectation. If the score is above 80, then that means the average student at that school is exceeding the growth expectation for that year.
And then my last question on Classical Academy, especially the elementary online math growth score.
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen, and I don't live this day to day, but I have never seen a growth score at a 47. Is that something that you've seen before?
I would agree with you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So this may not be the time to ask, or maybe later, but being new to charter, what opportunity is there to either support this school or monitor in some way? I mean, how do you can't just let that go.
Well,
what's that?
Also, I would also look at the enrollment at that school. There's 4 kids that we're running accountability on.
Oh, that's That's
Isn't that
interesting.
interesting?
Yes, I did
Yes,
not
so
see
that makes a difference too. But, I mean, to your question, we can always call in a charter school and actually have them report out and give us more contextual information for what's going on in their school and why we're seeing the scores that we're seeing. And I think that's kind of to Mr. Baldwin's point earlier, in being able to see what are those factors that are leading them to get that D or to drop from an A to a D. You know, what is it that's happening there? And I think that's our responsibility to call them in for those things.
And let me ask, if you have a school that just doesn't perform well over a long period of time in spite of all the corrective actions, can we revoke a charter?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
at any point in time.
Yes.
And I want to clarify that I still think it matters for the 4. It's just
Yes.
statistically that tells me something different, but I still am concerned about those 4
Mhm.
students. Even
Yes.
though it's
Yes.
not a large group.
Yes.
Maybe even looking at the viability, is
Mhm.
looking at maybe a bigger
Yeah.
look or more comprehensive look beyond just letter grade.
And I think, you know, just in looking at all of the schools under the Founders umbrella, that would be one that I would want to see more information on and more discussion from the school.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I-
Absolutely.
Absolutely. There's a story there that
Yes.
we need to know about.
Mhm.
Yes. Well, from an accountability standpoint, a K-12 with being rated on the high school grade span might be more advantageous for that district
Mhm.
with 20 kids.
Are there other districts that we have questions about?
I was wondering about the Friendship Academy in Little Rock Elementary.
Sure. That's the next one. Friendship Academy Elementary, going from the C to the F.
Mhm.
Yes. So again, a low ELA gross score there. And of course, the Southeast Pine Bluff did not have a letter grade in 2022, starting off with a D. And a very low ELA gross score there as well. The elementary dropped 13.36 points in overall ESSA, which is why they had that start decline. And, you know, it could have to do with the fact that their ELA gross score is very low. That could have a lot to do with it. If the growth in ELA is low, I would imagine the achievement in ELA is low as well. I think that, and they have 3.12 points to get to the D. What's concerning also for me is that the Little Rock Middle School has 8 points to get to the C level.
Is there any point where the variations of scores, decline of scores, triggers an automatic response? You know, so you were here, now you're there, and there's such a decrease that, you know, the alarms go off, you know, it's either orange light or red light or something.
Do you want to talk about the levels of support?
So we do have 5 levels of support here in Arkansas. They range from general to intensive. I believe, do you know what level of support Friendship is in? That is information I did not include in this report, but we can get that to you. But level 3 coordinated support is if they have between 40 and 50% in need of support for reading. Level 4 would be directed support, which that would be where they have 50% or more in need of support for reading. And level 5 would be intensive support, and that is where they're taken over and by the board. We only have 4 districts in the state that are in intensive support right now.
When you provide intensive support, have you seen improvement in schools?
Yeah, I mean, yes, we've seen improvement even with level 3 or level 4 support, especially when it's an ELA issue. And I've been trying to watch personally, even when they're in level 2, which a lot of these schools are in level 2 support. That's collaborative support, which means they've been identified federally for either comprehensive or targeted support.
Who does the support? Is there a staff? a team of people?
Carol Herringer is the one doing the support, and then 1003 support comes from Dr. Jenny Stroud.
Okay. Are they staffed sufficiently to?
At
Can
this
you,
point in time, I don't know that I can really answer that question, because I don't know who's actually performing those duties at this point in time. Yeah.
But maybe, Ms. Newton, to your point is, what's a mechanism in place that we would want to review, possibly? Or come back and we just look at where they are, like what we talked about earlier with West Memphis. What's that? When's a good time for us to look, or what's that indication or a red light that says, let's take a look and just see?
I think a lot of that goes back to the first slide I showed with the timeline around reporting. I mean, you have to check in, like we're giving you different data points at different times. Just like with West Memphis, the data that just came out, you know, we're giving you 2024 graduation rate information right now. Like, we already know what the grad rate's going to be that goes into the 2024 ESSA. It was released last Friday when we released the report card. So if you know what data you're supposed to be looking at, and you stay on top of that data as it's released, you can start to be more proactive at tracking your subgroups, your schools, your district, but you just got to know what the right data is and how to track it.
And I would say too, you know, this review right now, this kind of broad overview can then trigger us to come back later. We did that last year when we had our review of data in November, and then we came back in February with more data. So that is an option as well. If we have specific districts we want to have come back and report out for us. I think last time we really only reported out on letter grades and ESSA scores, but I think to Mr. Baldwin's point earlier, if they were able to provide some of that progress towards their SMART goals, I think that would be contextual information that would be good for us to know. Yeah.
Yes.
So.
And I'll help provide whatever data I can, as long as I know what you need.
Yeah, and I think them being here too would be a good thing, because I think last time we did it, you and I did the report, and we basically stood up and just gave the data information, but we didn't have any contextual information. And so I think that extra dimension would be a good piece to have for us to look at. I think this, since we have the full report now, I think it's good for us to then step back and say, which of these charters do we think need to come in February, and have us, you know, do a deeper dive.
Tiffany, can you speak to, and I could do a report and figure it out myself, but you may know this offhand.
Sure.
Because I'm like looking at the school letter grade distribution on the ADE data center. And I'm wondering if you know offhand, since like 43 of the charters are DRF schools, do you know what % of the charters are DRF schools compared to what % of non-charters are DRF schools?
No, but I can definitely run that report for you.
Okay, it'd probably
Dr.
be faster
Moore.
if you do it than if I.
For
download
sure.
the Excel
I've already
file.
got all the data, and I thought about making that graph, but we were giving y'all so much, I didn't know exactly what you wanted,
Yeah,
so
I would like to compare that, just.
I would love to come back and present that for you, Dr. Moore.
And, you know, that's usually the question that I have is, how are the charters performing to their comparable peers? Because the intent is that the charter is supposed to be able to, you know, build a better mousetrap for
Yes.
this process. And so that's what we should be able to see. So that's why I would like to be able to see, because sometimes you have to kind of think about the demographics they're pulling from, and so what are their outcomes comparable, so that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to add to that, so like, yes, I wanna see the state level, but to your point, sort of like how West Memphis showed the surrounding schools with similar demographics, that's very good to compare.
So I did try to add some of those comparisons in my report. So as you can see, like, these are the friendship schools that I have the arrows pointing to. And then I have like Pine Bluff schools in here and Little Rock schools to compare. And the funky little red lines, I compared to the 2022 fifth percentile cuts, because to me that's important. Are you above that line or are you below that line? Because if you're below that line, that means you are identified for comprehensive support as opposed to the state average, because I need to know whether you are the bottom 5% of schools or not. So that red line does indicate bottom 5%, not state average.
So just for my clarification, as part of our discussion today, we're trying to identify some schools that we would want to come in and chat with us a little bit more.
Yes.
Because one that I am interested in is Jacksonville Lighthouse.
Yes.
Part of the reason being that I know that they were before us not too long ago where they kind of split some schools out. They kept some and they sent some to Friendship. And so that's one of the schools that they kept and it's still at a D. So I would want to kind of get some idea of where do they feel like there are on being able to address that.
Yeah, and their high school doesn't look like, it looks like it's faring pretty well as far as growth concerns. My bigger concerns would be with that elementary, just because the growth scores are considerably low there. And that's creating a feeder pattern where eventually those kids are gonna feed up to that high school and not be prepared.
Yeah. And then also the Lisa Academy, I think it's also the elementary, went from a C to a D. Kind of curious what's going on there also.
Lisa, yes, went from a C to a D, and low ELA growth there. Lisa Academy, Arkansas. Oh, that was West Elementary. And so they had a slight decline, but if you look on this rebound, Dr. Wright McMurray, they must have been barely holding on to a C because they only dropped 0.61 points. Okay. So I really like the rebound rates because it goes further to tell that story. The C and D, you know, if you're on that verge, you could have lost maybe 1/10 of a point and lost an entire letter grade, but really didn't move your ESSA score that much. So they only need that 0.6 to get their C back.
Okay.
So not as big of a concern there as with a school that needs, you know, 4 points to get their letter grade back. So with even the slightest modifications there, I feel pretty confident they'll get their letter grade back to where they need it to be.
Last year, we had Easton come in here and talk, and I just, you know, as I was looking through that Easton, that elementary lost again.
Yeah.
So how far are they from an F?
Easton. So ESTEM, the bigger concern there looks to be math, and yeah, ESTEM East Village. And I remember ESTEM East Village, they had been one of our schools on the move in the past because of their high growth scores. But yeah, lost just a minimal point, but they are, over time, they've lost quite a bit. And so they are 3.24 points away from a C.
What about just the elementary?
And the elementary is 2.13 points away from a C.
Okay.
So work to do there. But they've lost points over a longitudinal time space, not just within the past year. So it's more of a pandemic overall rebound rate, not just within 22, 23. They're trying to catch back up.
Okay, that's what I wanted, that's
Yeah.
what I needed you to say.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way to see or run a report that indicates D and F schools that are not only current but historical, right? So even before the pandemic,
Yes,
are there schools? I'd be interested in knowing if there have been schools over the last 5 to 7 years that have been consistently D and F schools before the pandemic and even after.
Yes, how far would you like me to go back, sir?
I would think, I would think 2 years before.
So 2017?
Yeah, let's do 2017. 2017. I was thinking 18, but 2017, I'd be interested in seeing.
Yes, sir. As long as I know what you want, I can run it.
Okay. Yes, 2017.
I can do it.
Yep.
Okay. You writing all this down, Jeffrey? Okay.
Any other observations?
I just want to say thank you guys. I know it's hard to take stuff and put it in something that we can understand, and I think y'all did a good job.
Thank you, Mr. Baldwin. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, we're here to serve you, so, and help the schools to do better. Any other questions from the panel?
I guess just in your observation, is there any school that we didn't discuss that you would like to bring forward for us to take a peek at?
Thank you for that question. Yes, there is.
Okay.
I would like to highlight some of the growth that's going on in the Delta. I think that KIPP has made some progress, even though that they are still on one of our lists. They do have some pretty good growth scores going on, and they have moved one of their schools from a D to a C. Let's see. I gotta sing my alphabet song. So they've moved one of their schools from an F to a D, and one from a D to a C. And I've gone up to KIPP a few times and worked with their leadership group, trying to help them understand our accountability system, and I believe that is paying off for KIPP. I love seeing all the green around their growth scores, because that means that those schools are scoring at least an 80 or above. So for the majority of their schools, they are showing improvement there. And then their rebound, they've got a few places where they have a positive rebound, or they have less than 2 points to achieve their next letter grade, which is showing progress and promise for me that they will get there. And they do have a little ways to go, but they are showing some positive movement. So I think that they were in a similar boat last year, where they had made some positive movement. So they were one of the ones, especially in that area of the state, where I thought might want to be highlighted.
And they were showing that trend last year as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Any
Jeff?
other thoughts?
Did you have any?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So I guess on the other side of the coin, when we have schools that we feel that are doing really good jobs,
Mm-hmm.
is it possible for us to give them that opportunity to come in to share what they have been doing?
Yeah.
I think that helps us to be able to understand for me, when I'm listening to others, to come in to maybe provide recommendations or to know what direction other folks should be going in, instead of just always bringing in some of our challenges. Can we bring in like a KIPP Delta that has done some good work?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
we can
for
definitely
sure.
do that. Taking notes, Ms. Summons?
And I'll just throw out there that me and my team will be glad to work with any school that needs the help, because a lot of it is understanding what components make up our accountability system and where to focus the work. It should be about the achievement and growth of students, and when schools get distracted away from that, that's what tends to lead them in directions that maybe they shouldn't go in. But when it's all about the teaching and learning of children, that's what helps schools grow.
Any other thoughts?
So,
Okay.
as these schools are coming in, are we providing them any guidance on what they should be coming with, so that they'll know what they need to be coming to share with us, so that we can get a better sense of what's going on?
So if we're calling particular schools in,
Okay.
we would provide them with specific guidance. So we would gather that guidance, and we can filter that through Ms. Summons,
Okay.
and she can to make sure that they have that information in any presentation that they provide.
Okay.
Mhm.
We
do also, we do interview the top, this year we have 6 featured schools that scored particularly high. They were all public schools, but we do interview them for things like practices, best practices, initiatives, any programs they may be running, and then put that on our website, on the web page for Schools on the Move, so that we can share that information out as a learning kind of lesson for other schools. Maybe we can do that with more charters.
Because like I said, I would love to hear the good
Yeah.
stories also and give them an opportunity to be recognized instead of just always calling folks in when we have a concern, also calling some of
Yeah.
those that are doing some great work.
And thank you for actually putting those on the presentation so we could see those schools on the move.
Absolutely. And, you know, like Mr. Bragg was saying, you know, the 41 was at the lowest growth score you ever seen. Well, the highest growth score I've ever seen was a 91.43, and that happened at Pottsville Elementary. And so that was one of the schools that we interviewed. So, you know, I'm from Hot Springs, and they always say that we have the best water in Arkansas, but we might all want to start drinking the water in Pottsville instead.
So since this is on the action agenda, and we would like to have some schools come in February, do I have any discussion or a motion surrounding which schools and whether or not we would like them to come in January?
I was thinking that the schools that we were
Mm-hmm.
saying we were interested in would be the schools on that list.
So the schools that I have, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I tried to jot them down as we were discussing them. Friendship, and that was at the elementary in Little Rock?
The Friendship, it was the Friendship, Little Rock Elementary,
Mm-hmm.
and I think maybe the Southeast Pine Bluff that had no letter grade in 2022, starting out with a D, had particularly low growth scores.
And then we had Jacksonville Lighthouse. Founders.
Yes,
And it was the elementary.
it was the elementary. Yes, the high school was doing a little better than the elementary
Okay.
there.
And then Founders, we had a couple there.
The online elementary,
Yeah.
Founders also has an elementary in West Little Rock.
yes,
Yeah, and I believe that's one of the ones we were wanting to look at.
yes.
So West Little Rock. And then
And
East.
the West Little Rock, I guess it's a high school or a middle school. It went from a C to a D.
Okay. And then East M.
I don't know that we, oh, yes, we did.
Because we talked about the longitudinal drop.
Yes. That was East Village and East M Elementary.
And then with Lisa, did we say that we weren't as concerned?
Well, I had asked about Lisa because they went from a C to a D, but I think then the explanation was that they lost just like maybe tenths of a point. And
Okay.
they
Yeah, it was
bumped them down.
.61,
Okay.
less than a point.
So are you still interested in maybe hearing from them?
I would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion is for us to look at the schools we just named, and then we will provide you with feedback surrounding what we want the reporting to look like from them. So we'll provide that to Ms. Summons, and that will happen through a report that takes place in February. Does that sound good, Mr. Baldwin?
That sounds good.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Was that in opposition or was that in
That was an
favor?
aye.
Okay, just making sure because it came in right as I said the other. All right, so the motion passes. So in February we'll have reporting out from these schools, and you know what we'll do for a future meeting is try to get some of these schools in here that are doing really positive things and that are on the move, so that we can hear from them as well. All right, sounds good.
Were there any questions about district conversion charters? We're okay with there. Okay,
All right,
perfect.
thank you very much.
I appreciate y'all inviting me here.
Yes.
Thank y'all
Y'all
so
have a
much
great
for your
day.
time. You too.
Thank you.
All right. Any new business? If there's not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion that we adjourn this charter meeting.
All right.
Second.
Oh. Yes, thank you. So we just wanted to take this time to thank Carly Saraceni for her service on the charter panel. How many years have you been on the charter panel?
Several.
And so she'll be rolling off here in December. So we thank you so much for your service. We appreciate it. All right. So we have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second? All right. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Motion passes. We are adjourned.